Hi poopsies, it's me, Tony Bomboni, back at it again with another video. Filming in the living room, so sorry you hear maybe some faint, distant construction. Once in a while you may hear my bird. She makes little chirpy noises, but it's not like loud, so it's not gonna scare you. Yeah, sort of like that. There you go. Yeah. So hope you don't mind. She's sometimes like when she's sleeping, which she does a lot during the day, she'll kind of like wake up and be like in the middle of the night too. Like, it's really funny and cute. So that's why I try not to film here too often, because of that noise, but hopefully it doesn't bother you. Yes, she's alive. She's doing just fine. You know. But anyway, guys, today's video is going to be talking about past life regression. What I saw, I've had, I think 3 different ones, and I'll explain to you what I saw in each one. So before this begins, if you could just hit that red subscribe button down below if you're new and you want more content like this from me. I upload every day to help me support the journey for us to have this system where this channel can be able to produce daily content. I have a website, tonybomboni.com. You know, every YouTuber needs their support, man, especially nowadays. You know, like, I hear it more and more every day. More YouTubers, more and more, even creators on like other platforms, really almost like insisting they get support to keep going. Because yeah, it's it's real. You know, us creators, we be struggling sometimes. You know, we really do, because there's a lot of work that goes into these, and you know, people are like, oh, you know, YouTubers and working, like, you know, people don't think it's work, but it is. It takes a lot of thinking. It's mostly thinking, but that drains you energetically, I find. And yes, poopsie, I know you guys don't mind her chirping, so yeah, I hope you really don't mind. This is a nice video for a change. You know, I don't want to be bothered and like so anal about like every little sound nowadays. You know, I don't really like focus so deeply on that. I find that like people really enjoy like even like natural talking, as long as it's soft spoken or like relaxing, or you know, even if there's background noise, construction, traffic, like who cares? You know, people find that actually more relaxing anyway than contrived studio quality 8K 12K camera movie theatrics. Like that stuff never really relaxed me. I don't bother even honestly clicking on that stuff, because it's like, as soon as I see the thumbnail, I'm like, I know this is not natural, like, you know, with all the lighting and stuff. So that's just where I'm at on this channel. You know, that might change someday, but for now I'm like, I ain't about that life, okay? But anyway, so yeah, my website, tonybomboni.com. I'm actually just about to go do some I have a custom ASMR. I have like 2 or 3 tarot readings and something else I forgot, but yeah, I love it every day. You guys it just makes me so happy. It's just like it motivates me to get out of bed, honestly, to do these bookings. It's really fun. All right, guys. So today's video, I'm gonna actually be making sounds with triggers while I talk. I want to try it again, just like the last video or whatever, whenever I posted it, to see if you guys enjoy me talking about stuff and making sounds at the same time, instead of just sitting here talking about myself. So I have these matches. I will not light them. However, I will make sound. So to make that very clear with you. All right. So past life regression. So I'm going to talk about my first one. And I hope I remember to link it in the description box. I keep trying to share it. I keep forgetting to share it. So I had this past life regression with Alba Weinman like over 3 years ago, okay? It is very hard to get a place with her because she has such a huge, okay, I'm gonna have to check on her if she keeps going like this. She has such a huge newsletter list that like it's first come, first served. So yeah, her newsletter is so long that it literally like, you have to be the first minute or 2, and otherwise you won't get a place. So back then I was like waiting by my computer to get a place, and I finally did. And at the time it was also very expensive to me. I was not comfortable because I just paid like $8,000 at once for this schooling for hypnosis. snap, So I was like, yeah, like spending almost all my money, and then I just spent like, oh my God, like maybe $11,500 on my taxes. And then I was just like, I was just like so uncomfortable, but I did it. It was so worth it, life-changing. And then, so I was really excited. So I went to sign up for the the hypno session, the therapy session. It was more like a therapy session, and you go there and you talk it out, you cry, you get your things out to the person you sign up for, kind of like a therapy session. Like hypnotherapists are really just like they're therapists, right? Like in a sense, except they do hypnosis rather than the traditional therapy model. Okay, so that's what I studied, that's what I learned. And actually, next video I'm going to talk about why I studied that. Okay, so moving on. So in my session with her, I saw, and she's really good. Like, it was the first time I did this ever. When an hypnosis went right away, like, yeah, she's gifted for sure. So I'm not sponsored to say this or promote her, but yeah, she's really gifted. And I'm gonna actually like probably watch some of her videos later tonight again, because wow, like some of the things that her clients will say, it's like really deeply profound spiritual information that's like you have to tap in to access. And again, she has a gift to do that, sort of like Dolores Cannon. So that's why I went to her, and it felt right intuitively. Although, like, after my first session, like I wish I knew more about myself then, because I was also very young and also still figuring a lot of stuff out. Which obviously I still am to this day. I'm still young, I guess. But it's a journey, and I was left very confused after, because I was like, well, I didn't know how to connect the session, and then when she sent you the video back, then it makes sense, and you could connect the pieces of your life. It's like, oh, this is why this happened, and I actually watched it back, and I wrote down in a journal like what my purpose was, answering all my questions I had, so you can come to the session with questions, like, what was I in a past life? How does this connect with my life? And I don't know, this parent I had, and whatever, So a lot of questions were answered, but still a lot of unknowns. And I've spent that whole 2019 year figuring out why, and the what ifs, and the hows, and what have you nots. And I was left even more confused, but I feel like I was forcing myself to figure out rather than just enjoying the process, which I now know looking back. But let me get to my point. So I'm going to link that video. It's probably like 2 hours, a whole 2 hour session. She posted our session on her YouTube channel, so you can see. I think it's called like Black Hole in the Sun, something like that. Or if you look on YouTube, search Tony Bomboni, Black Hole and the Sun, something like that. Alba Weinman, you'll find it. So it's just a thumbnail of me like resting on a couch, basically, with a blue shirt on. And yeah, again, this was over 3 years ago. So that's what I experienced then at that particular time. And I'll try to go off the top of my head. So basically, I was on another planet, all right? And again, you're watching this because maybe the only reason I'm making this video is because maybe someone can answer these questions in the comments. Maybe you've had your own past life regressions, and you can connect the mysterious puzzle piece of life together with me. Maybe what you saw is what I saw, or vice versa. And maybe you can help guide me in the comments, like how this can make sense, how I can make sense of it, how this can relate to you and life and us human beings in general. I'm making this so that we can figure this out together, okay? So I want as many people to know about this so that they can maybe compare it to their own life, and then they can answer some questions about what's out there in the universe. And, so I'm not saying this is real, accurate information. I'm just saying entertainment purposes only. This is not fact, okay? But this is what I have experienced, so maybe you can relate and share in the comments, and again, not on a personal level, but help us out as humanity. Let's figure out together what the heck is going on. All right. So I saw myself on a reddish orangish planet, it was a lot bigger. Like, I even saw a zoomed out form of it, like, compared to Earth. Because in hypnosis, your mind is gonna feel things, hear things, see things, and you'll just know. Answers, revelation will come through, and you'll be given this information. But you have to get to a seriously deep hypnotic. That's a cool word, deep hypnotic state. Okay, deep hypnotic state. Sometimes there's some words in language that are not even in the dictionary. It's true, like light language, light codes. I also had that. I'll talk about it soon. This may be a long video. Ooh, girl, I didn't realize how long this could be. So, basically, a planet much larger than Earth. That was like my first body life, like a human being. But I wasn't really human. I was kind of like a different being. But it kind of looked human-ish. I kind of looked caveman-y. I had like the beard, scraggly hair, long hair, and like just enough to cover my below parts, like some cloth or something, like, but it looked really like old and raggedy and leathery. Big feet, like kind of hairy, big feet, long stretched feet, like toes. I was like a little uncomfortable seeing what I saw in that session. Like that judgmental ego side of me kind of wanted to come through, but spirit was like, shut up, continue. So and that's how you know you're in a deep state of hypnosis. It's like, yeah, that part of you wants to come through, but they're like, no, we're gonna continue showing you what you need to know. Okay, Tony. All right. So this was, yes, you were that in that caveman body. Okay, whether you deny it or not, you didn't look hot. Okay, you didn't look hot and pretty. You may not have even smelled nice, but it's okay. You had a wife and a kid. So, and this is when I started to cry when I realized that how much I missed that child, because apparently I had died on that planet. Which obviously I did, duh, otherwise I wouldn't be here, right? But there's also the theory that we also live multiple lives at the same time, which I do believe. I did see this. Again, I'll get to it. So I'm not just Tony right now in this earth. I'm also like as another form elsewhere at the same time as you are. Again, everything I say, entertainment purposes only. This is not fact, okay? Anyway, so relaxation purposes only. Let's move on. So I'm like, okay, this is already getting weird. So, yeah, like my wife had like long skinny legs. She had kind of like blue eyes, I guess, blonde hair, really pretty lady, and I was crying because I missed her so much. And when you're in that session, you're there. Like, you're there. You're re-experiencing all the emotions, all the karma, all the issues you have to overcome. And this made me realize, like, oh, maybe this is why things haven't not been working out in relationships. In that same year, I started attracting more people that were potential partners, like crazy. Like, they just came to me, without even trying, like effortless. So I was like, okay, I must have healed something here. You know, it wasn't a good, perfect year, but you know what? I was getting to the next stage of the game. So, you know, that was my way of healing and letting go of old past pains, wounds, karma. I've been through a lot with like, you know, people mistreating me and just like taking advantage of me, and situations where I had to be doing something I didn't want to do for money, and it was just like, it was horrible. So that's how I, looking back, associate it now. And having healed that, it's like, oh yeah, I literally left my family on this planet behind. Basically what happened, it was like a puma cougar looking creature. Again, it was like a mixed breed, because it's a different planet, so you're not going to have the same creatures as here on that planet. But it was a pretty planet. I didn't want to leave. I was like, ooh, I kind of want to stay around, have a martini or something. Oh, nope, never mind. This cat kills me. So it's clawing at me. I feel the pain. It's horrible. It was like a slow, painful, like it was horrible. Like, not a nice way to go. All right, let's put it that way. That cat was hungry, okay? So I tried to hunt it with my spear, and epic fail. It just devoured me. And I was like, wow. Yeah, so it was huge too. It was like probably bigger than me. So yeah, like the biggest cat you've ever seen. It's kind of black too, blackish, grayish color. This planet was gorgeous. It always looks like it has a sunset. It's a nice orange-red glow, kind of like what you might imagine Mars to be, but like more orangey and more Earth-looking, but like really reddy, glowy, sandy. Like we were on a sandy beach, and that's where the cat got me. It's like I lived in a cave next to the beach. And I remember spending time on that beach. It was my special place. That's what it was. And I would spend time with my wife there. And then she had the baby. And the baby was a 1-year-old named Tommy. And then I later figure out that was my inner child. His name is Tommy. And he lives in my heart. Which, again, this took several sessions to get to that revelation. And connect, again, you want to connect the puzzle pieces, right? Did you see yourself on this planet? Maybe. It was huge, but no one was there. I felt like I was the only one there, which was really weird. But again, with such a big planet, I'm sure there were many people there, but they were because the planet was so big, it seemed like no one was there because everyone was so far spread out. And I'm sure that was our way of surviving. It's oh yeah, you don't go in my territory, I don't go in yours, So I would often go out to hunt food for my wife and my 1-year-old. And I tried to hunt, and then this cat just out of nowhere, just whoosh, bam, bam, scratch, 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 dead. So it was so peaceful when I died, but it was sad because then I saw my wife come out of the cave, coming up to me crying. It was horrible. I could see myself levitating and observing down. And then the therapist asked me what was the lesson in this life? Because that's how you get healing from a past life. Because basically what it is you don't just do past life to be oh, I was in Atlantis or ancient Egypt. No, you're there for the wrong reason. This is for healing. So you're healing that past that you carry on with you in this life. It's a karmic wheel. So I had to heal that part of me. And again, at this point, I'm in tears. My whole face is wet. Yeah. Because you're so in the experience of your own karma. And I had to realize that the lesson in that life was basically something about trust. And my wife at the time didn't trust me enough to go hunting, and her fear came true. She always feared I would die one day, hunting and leave behind her and the kid. She manifested her fear through me. And so when I released that, when I let it go, I was experiencing in this life what I experienced because I kept holding on to the pain that I left her. And that she manifested almost like a spell within me that would happen one day, if you always fear something's going to happen, it's eventually going to happen. Okay, let's put it that way. So I felt for her. It's I was carrying the weight and the pain that she was experiencing in this life. And so it helped me let go a lot of fear. But that life also taught me to survive, to be strong, to be brave, not to fear, but to trust. And so I think that's very important that we trust, we believe in ourselves, and no matter what, and go for it. Dare to hunt for that dream, that goal, that wish, that desire, fearlessly, regardless of what someone else tells you to do. So then the pain of losing that child I also carried with me. But I never lost them, So it's kind of funny how that happens. And then seeing in this life how, that father-son connection, I won't go into detail, but now it kind of, the tables turned, right? And So it made sense. And then it was weird because I also saw like my mom was like somehow in that life with me, and then now she's in this life here, so maybe there's some soul connection there. You know, sometimes you have a soul connection with someone, and it's not that you're like, you know, how do I put it? Like some souls kind of know each other out there in the afterlife. Like just what I spoke about in the last video or whatever, last two videos. And you agree to come down like, okay, this time I'll play the role of your uncle. This time you'll play the aunt, you know, whatever, you know. This time I'll be the mother, you be the father, whatever, you know. So you'll kind of reincarnate in different parts to let go of that karma. So that's kind of what I saw. So again, how does this make sense? Does it connect? I want to hear your experience. What did you see in your sessions? You know, I don't care how long your comment is. You know, it's beautiful to read. And we can all read and help each other in the comments below. So, then after that life, I was uplifted. After I learned the lesson, I shot up and I saw myself as this huge, like, an angel-looking form. It was like a translucent body. It was kind of silvery gray with the biggest wings I've ever seen. But that was me in that form. I guess that's how my mind kind of constructed how I imagine I would look. I don't think that's maybe actually how, it didn't feel like that's actually how I look in the afterlife, because you can change your form like to anything. So that was like my mind's way of seeing like a deceased person. It was like a gray angelic figure, right? And then I was like carried away into the atmosphere, and I saw the whole planet. But then when I looked down, I was like, hey, this kind of looks like Earth. And then I'm like, oh no, that was my next life. The next time I'm a human. So it's like I was immediately transported to that place. And like it took a long time. I went through clouds and clouds. Like this planet had like dense layers of clouds. Crazy dense. So it could be that at the same time it was that planet, but it looked like Earth, because like when you're in the planet, it looks so different than when you're above it and you see it differently. So it's kind of like the firmament. It didn't make sense. I was like, wait, this doesn't even really look as I imagined. But anyway, I was transported far away, and my wings just shot me out into the next life I was meant to see. And then I carried myself into that life, and I believe it was this I'm not saying that was in like the timeline in that order. Again, there's no such thing as time anyway, allegedly. So I was just meant to see it in that order that my therapy session went, based on my questions and stuff. So that could have been my previous life before this one. Okay, so this is in no order, all right? So, basically, I saw myself as in a laboratory, but like I was in like a petri dish looking up, and there was like a scientist slash doctor doing some lab experiments. And it didn't make sense. I was like, this is really weird. And I had a bad feeling. I just didn't have a good feeling. I was like, why am I here? I feel stuck. I feel trapped. I can't get out. I'm trying to move, but I can't. And the therapist trying so hard to get me to have like a bird's eye view of what I am. And I finally got it, and I'm like, I'm in horror at what I see. I'm like, I'm literally liquid metal, like mercury or something. It's not mercury, but it looked like mercury. All I'm going to say about this is, again, this happened in 2019. I'm not saying I predicted anything, but you can put two and two together based on what's going on. I'm just saying. Okay, moving on. So, I had a bad feeling, and I was like, this feels wrong, okay? And I was like, what is he doing? Ow, like it hurts. Like he's putting some chemicals on me, and I'm burning, and I'm bubbling, and I'm sizzling. All of a sudden, I'm like a Metatron cube. But like a silver metallic liquid hard, like it's almost like if you touch me, I'm a solid. If you don't touch me, I'm a liquid. And I keep molding and shape-shifting, and it's like I have my own format of like, I'm like a living being, obviously, because my soul is like literally incarnate in this stupid thing that is like horrifying. Like to this day, I'm still like goosebumps. I don't like this. But he was doing some experiments and injected me with something, and then all of a sudden, I'm just like this vibrant energy, and all of a sudden I just go, and I turn into a black hole. Yeah, see what I mean? And I suck in everything. All the lab, the doctor's trying to run away, I suck him into. Okay, that was his karma. And everything. I suck in the building, the whole town, the whole city, the whole world. I'm sucking in planets all around me. I get bigger and bigger the more I suck in. I get so big, large, and in charge. I start like channeling like my most anger, inner dark energy. Like this thing has like some in the darkest dark parts of me. Guys, I did so much damage. I even done messed up like some fabric of the universe. But then I approached the biggest sun I've ever seen, what I associate as now the Grand Central Sun. And it swallows me up. I try to swallow it too. It swallows me up and I'm obliterated. It tears me and rips me to shreds, and then I'm sucked into the light. But before that, before I get into the light, what was the lesson there, that black hole? Not to live in ego, not to let the dark forces swallow me up, and not to be so consumed by it, right? So that was a lesson. But I also did some serious damage. So I had to play out my karma now to pay back for what I did, because I swallowed up so many planets. Like, it took the Grand Central Sun to stop me, basically. And even the fact that I was in such ego, I thought I could even destroy that sun, because I was in such anger, in such resentment, in such hatred. And that was also kind of what was building, eating me up inside based on past pain. And it felt so good to let that go. You have no flipping idea. Like, when that sun swallowed me up and I was re-immersed with the light, the true nature of my being again, I felt so amazing. I let it go. I released it. I felt like I was forgiven for the damage I've done. And I realized, oh my God, this is actually my home. This is actually where I originally come from. And then I saw that a lot of people come from there, and my, at the time, best friend also came from there. And like, you know, I kind of saw them as soul there, but it's not hot. It's not hot to be in the sun, which is, you know, really weird. Because it's a spiritual sun, so I'm not surprised, but I always thought it would be like hot. You can actually be in there without experiencing the heat, because it's just light. And then I realized that, and I'm like, oh, this actually feels really good. It feels freeing. It feels liberating to be in the sunlight. And I saw myself like swirls of light, just like this, like dancing around and just moving quickly, and everything's moving so quickly because it's just a bunch of like, I don't know, hot plasma or whatever. But like, it's not just like the chemical physical component. It's the actual, it goes beneath that. So you see different layers in the sun because it's so big. The Grand Central Sun is like unimaginably big. There's like different beings in different layers of that sun. And to see this, I actually had to do a separate of my own self-hypnotic session to actually tap into what's there. And there's beings like millions of years old in there, and different hierarchies. And there's even like the innermost core. You cannot go there unless you are like the closest to God. So like, I clearly am not qualified to go there. I mean, I'm still in this dense physical realm, so I did not have access. They did not give me the keys, okay? They were like, girl, you're not invited. Like, the VIP at the front was like, So, all right, I respect that. All right. So, still gotta heal some stuff before I, have access. But, yeah, it's like, I'm not supposed to know what's there. That's what I felt. But anyway, I was going around enjoying what I could access in that sun. And the more higher vibration you are, the deeper in the sun you can access. So I could only go so far as that gate, portal, whatever, and then I couldn't go further. Okay. But it also kind of looked black. It's like really black in there, so who knows what it is, but I was not allowed in, so it's very interesting. Did you ever see that? So basically, I know this sounds like so far-fetched, out otherworldly. It's interesting stuff, right? It's interesting. Yeah, so I hope you're enjoying this so far. I'm gonna move on. I have a rubber glove now. And talk about, I stole it from the doctor, scientist in the lab who did experiments on me. No, I'm joking. But, yeah, oh yeah, and that doctor's like, man, I did not like him. Like, I resented him after that, and I forgot what the association was. I went back in another session and looked back at the doctor, and I realized that was something between, I don't know if it was I don't even remember at this point. It was something I had to let go. I had to let go of my hatred for him. There was unfinished business there. And I realized he didn't know what he was doing. He was just told what to do. I'll leave it at that. So, you know if you know. Anyway, so I forgave him. I was like, yeah, this is not like something I should feel sorry for. He didn't even know I was there. Like, he just thought he was playing with a bunch of liquid metal. I was just there, and yeah, horrible. But I think that's what channeled my inner anger as the black hole, is because of what he did. And it's like, I don't know, crazy, right? But yeah, this sun felt like ever forgiving light, love, high frequency. It felt so good. Like, my physical body started feeling sick at that point, because I'm like, this is too high vibration. Like, I'm not ready for this. And it was rainy that day. I wasn't really feeling my best either, because I was like clearing out all this old stuff and crying so much. And so it was very healing though, but it definitely took a while for me to feel the positive effects of it. So, moving on. After that, black hole in the sun. Okay, so there was a attachment. So there's like an alien in my throat. I had to release and send out into the light. And this didn't even go into the regression. Now this is just like my physical body. I was healing. So what else did I see in my regression? Oh, I went to see my counsel, my elder counsel, who was in the Akashic Library, the Akashic Records, the Hall of Records as they call it, which is, I suppose you can commonly see in the, what is called the astral realm, the astral plane of existence. And he was like, I mean, he looked like Merlin, like literally, I think he is Merlin. Yeah, I'm like convinced he's Merlin. Because this Merlin always connected with me as a kid. I saw him in dreams. He'd come sneak up on me. I'm like, as kids, you see things that you normally don't because you're a kid and your imagination runs wild, but it's not really your imagination. You're just close in contact with spirit because, yeah. So, as adults, we're all programmed, right? So we lose touch of that because of our innocence and stuff. So we start to formulate to this three-dimensional world and we forget. So that imaginary friend you spoke to is probably spirit. Just saying. So, moving on. So this Merlin-looking guy, right, my council elder, is responsible for my incarnation. So he's telling me my purpose, and I'm looking at that book, and I'm like, I can't see anything. Like, I'm barely getting just a few words out of that book. And I figured out it's because my list is so long. I have a lot to take care of while I'm here. And I have a lot of purposes to fulfill. And so I kind of was overwhelmed, and like, I'm like, why did I even choose to do so much coming down here? I thought it would be easy. And it's not, and I'm like nowhere near done finished. And I was told I'd have a long life and I'd have a lot to accomplish. And, if I ever needed to come back to, again, unfinished business, I would. But I kind of felt like I knew this was my first life here on Earth. And he showed me the incarnation process, and it was not pleasant. Like, yeah, at least for me, like, I did not want to do it. I had to, though. I waited too long, and he said, it's time. And he, like, pushed me down this slide. And I was, like, in agony. I'm like, I do not want to go here. I don't like how I'm being crammed like a noodle to be densely packed into the physical realm. I'm up here in these high vibration realms, and to have to choose to go down here was heck for me, like horrible. And I finally got shown that I was in the womb, so I basically incarnated while I was still in the womb. And then they showed my physical birth, and I won't go into detail. It stopped there. I interrupted the session there. I ended up seeing it in another session, and what happened to me, and there was another trauma there that I had to heal, because even my birth was, to me, traumatic, and like it may have appeared like a normal birth, but to me the experience was so horrible that I had to also go in a different session to heal that. So there was like a lot, okay? So I'm like literally crying, yeah, when you do these sessions, you're there. Like, you are crying like you're a baby because you're there. You are that baby right now. It's a lot. Sometimes it takes some guts to do these sessions, because, yeah, you gotta really be in the ready mindset, okay? That's why you can't force anyone to do it. You have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to do it. But it helped me heal a lot. It helped me get out of that same cycle that I've been going through. And I was like, wow, my first experience on this planet, I just pop out and I'm already experiencing so again, I won't even go into detail, but that kind of set in stone the mindset for this life and how I view the world. Is because I'm like, I've been suffering coming here, I've been suffering arriving here. Of course I'm gonna be in suffering, right? Of course. If this is how you first see the world, you're not gonna like it. You go in an amusement park and the first thing someone does is flip you off. Of course you're gonna have a bad day. Duh, right? So it's a lot. But that's that. And in another session, I saw that it was another self-hypnosis session. I saw that, I think I even posted it on my vlog channel a couple years ago, that I'm like a baby. I thought I was an old soul. Honey child, I'm like a baby compared to some of these souls. I'm pretty old, but some of these souls make me look like a baby. I'm still a baby, basically, okay? So yeah, still a long way to go, right? How exciting. So, amazing, right? Just, what can I say? So there's basically another past life regression. So that was the first one, right? As a summary. The second one, which one will I go into? I'll go into this one in this order. Okay, so this is months later, and you set an intention before your session, right? If you don't have a question for the therapist, you at least set an intention for what you desire to see. Otherwise, there's no direction, right? I've done sessions on clients myself, and they're like, I don't know, I just want to see what I see. I'm like, okay. So yeah, not to scare anyone, but I'm gonna spill some tea. Anyone that I've done like that, and I don't do it anymore. I'm not even qualified to do it anymore because I waited too long. I didn't even renew my thing. So, but anyone I did, I didn't see no one here. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. Jesus protect me. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say. Again, entertainment purposes only, but that was just their way of seeing it too. So like I could be wrong, but it was really freaky. I'm like, I started getting weird vibes. I'm like, why do people keep not seeing themselves here? Past 2025, I'm like, what? I don't know. But let me know in the comments. What could that mean? I know I'm wrong, okay? But that just freaked me out. I'm like, okay. Moving on. So, we know and we don't know, right? We'll never get the answers in this universe. So, and that's why I'm always fascinated by it, like Nostradamus and Baba Vanga. Like they actually tap in and see, and they're so accurate centuries later in their predictions. Well, okay, Nostradamus, Baba Vanga wasn't it? You know, my family, one of my family's members actually, long ago, they actually met Baba Vanga. Yeah, they met her when she was still alive, and there was like a long line of people waiting for her. And I forgot exactly who, grandfather or something on what's my mom's side of the family, but she called them out of like 1,000 people waiting in line. She called him. She was like, something's going on with you. And she knew his name, his age, whatever. It was a man. She was blind, so obviously, like, how could she know, right? And she's like, you're going through this issue with this lady. He's like, yep, you living with her, right? Yep. And he just, like, I guess was so fascinated and, like, cried or whatever. And she actually helped him through his issue. And she was warning him about something that he wasn't even aware of. And she was very accurate. So crazy. And I think maybe that's why I have such a strong connection with Baba Vanga, is because she did that day with my family member, and something must have passed on. Maybe that psychic gene passed on. I hope so, because I admire her. So anyway, fun fact, right? But she truly is an amazing prophet, but I don't think people gave her enough credit while she was still alive. It's always when you die that people listen. So I'll leave it at that. Anyway, moving on. So I basically saw in this session, I set an intention to see more of the universe, because I felt at that time in my life I healed most of the things I healed, and I had no other questions for the therapist. So we go in, and I see myself, again, in no particular order, as this storm on Neptune. So I talk back to my elder Merlin-looking council member, who's responsible for my soul incarnation, and we're like best friends. He's so funny. He's hysterical, okay? Like he kind of has his head in the gutter sometimes too, but that's what I like. Like that's the funny humor I like. So we're having a good time there. I meet him up all the time when I fall asleep at night. In my dreams, I see him so many times. I see myself in that school library, wandering through halls, looking at books, gathering information, collecting what I learned here, storing it there in that cloud, as they say. So that's kind of like the Hall of Records. It's everyone's soul karmic knowledge and information. And you cannot open someone's book unless you have specific permission from council, and even the council member has a higher up that tells them yes or no. Heck, if I can barely open my book, I'm definitely not allowed to open someone else's. So, you got to respect that. So, basically, I talk to my counsel, and he shows me. I ask him to show me more lives. So he shows me the storm on Neptune. I was literally a storm on Neptune. So he's showing me all the other lives before my human incarnate life, because you have to be lower, denser vibration things before you can be a higher vibration thing, right? Because you have to evolve as soul, allegedly. So, and then once you totally evolve, sometimes you choose to go back in the wheel all over again, because there's more unfinished information you want to collect. And sometimes you just do it to service humanity. Like I do authentically believe, like the Azez beings, for example, of many different ones. They talk about the Pleiadians all the time and stuff like that. It'll take me all day to explain, but basically they incarnate. Sometimes they choose to, from this high vibration, to be again, like noodled down and compressed to this low vibration just to help service humanity and help during a time of need. So it's kind of like that Christ consciousness. Jesus chose to come here, even though he was, I mean, I can't even imagine, like the Son of God, like the closest thing to God, next door neighbor. To be squeezed into this, like, pitiful, almost like dense, low vibration human form. Poor guy, like the suffering he went through to live in this life and being so uncomfortable being here. I feel for him. And that's why it's like, you know, I connect nowadays more to Christ consciousness than anything, because it just makes sense to me personally, okay? Because that has helped me connect with myself more than any other spiritual information I've had. They're all great, but I believe they're all even just a small smidgen of God's creation. God is overall, like, even as the spiritual teachers say, God beyond the beyond. You can't even connect or fathom with that. And that's the true source of God's creation in all its essence, because we're so far removed but still somehow linked in this advanced system. I know I went far, but it definitely opens your mind, at least, okay? I'll give it that much. So I never like 100% agreed with anything. Even listening to all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, that's cute, but you know, we really don't know. So again, this is just, yeah, story time. But basically, but how we do know is connecting, and that's why I say it's so important you leave it in the comments, because that's how you're gonna help me and others out, connect the pieces, and we can figure this once and for all. Hopefully, we're never gonna figure it out, let's be honest, but we can at least get closer, right? Anyway, so holy cow, and you know there's a reason you're drawn to this video today, so there's a reason. All right. But you all know it, information is hidden and suppressed now, okay? So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, this just, whatever, doesn't show up. Anyway, so I'm gonna move on to this paper. The storm on Neptune was to make me stronger and ready for Earth. I had to be a storm so that I can be ready for the extreme weather here. Goosebumps, right? So I had to experience all elements before coming here to be evolved and ready for life here. I can't just incarnate as, because I've been up there so long, allegedly. I was so far removed, like, I had no idea what it was like to be here. I read books in the Akashic Library of Earth, and I'm like, oh, that's cute, you know. Oh, I'd love to be a baby. That baby looks cute. It's like reading a book on chemistry. You're never gonna learn chemistry unless you go in the lab and experiment. So me coming here, you coming here is our lab experiment, right? So that's why I had to be the metal Metatron cube. That's why I had to be the storm on Neptune. That's why I had to be the ugly caveman on that weird planet, because I was being prepared for life here. So it doesn't come as a shock, right? And that's always explained why I never felt home here. I never felt welcome here. It's because I was removed from this type of life. Some people you be meeting, they came here like 500 times. Yeah. And they don't have anxiety. They don't have depression. They don't struggle with life here. They enjoy it. They like to travel. They don't even get this kind of, okay, I can't say they don't get this kind of stuff in conversation, because for you, honey, to be incarnate here 100 times, you must understand something spiritual. But you're so connected to the earth that you forget spirit, okay? So, and there's clearly some like heavy karma that you're still clearing out. So yeah, anyway, I hope that's over someday. I don't want souls to suffer. I don't want the whole karmic wheel. Like, I hope that someday gets lifted, the restraint is lifted, the veil is uncovered, and we finally shine light on this planet. And I do think that is a part of our 3D to 5D shift. And such a beautiful process. It really is. But I don't want any souls to suffer anymore. So, you know, some people in their sessions have reported seeing that they are like forcefully incarnated back as punishment. It's like, it's horrible to even fathom, like, wow, you know. So what if that is reality? What if that is truth to some people? I do believe light always wins and overcomes. No one can outcompete God. Ha ha. So, I saw myself as a blade of grass being eaten by a hedgehog, which was really cute. I'm like, ow, stop eating me. Like, this is really uncomfortable and weird. And then I was in his mouth, like, being chewed up. And then I was in his stomach, like, and then I was poop. And I'm like, that's why I call you guys my poopsies, because y'all are cute like a hedgehog. No, I'm joking, but like, it was weird. I was like, this is so gross. And I was so uncomfortable, but they said the purpose of that life was to show you how digestion works and how life is a cycle. So the hedgehog will eat the grass, and, you know, this is how waste and how absorbing nutrients works. And like, I had to learn everything. Like, I think they made me incarnate, like, they were very short-lived lives, but they made me incarnate like 600 times just to be noodled down into this life, to kind of truly grasp how it works. Like, you're going to go through 1st through 6th grade science education about basic math and basic science, and you're going to be advanced to the next. Same principle, you have to go in the lab back and forth. You have to read on it, go in the lab, read on it, go in the lab, read on it, go in the lab, read on it, go in the lab. And then you're ready for advanced chemistry in college. You know what I'm saying? So, and then they were showing how I gave life to that hedgehog by doing that. So it's like I was servicing life. And it's like, oh, it's not ugly and horrible, it's beautiful now, right? But you don't realize it until you die as that blade of grass, and then you look down and you're like, oh, that's why I did what I did. Okay, bye, hedgehog, nice to see you. Moving on. And then all of a sudden they show me that this tree. I'm like, what is this? And this is before I even knew anything about the Bible. But the Bible talks about the tree of knowledge, Adam and Eve, right? And like, why am I this tree? I'm not saying I am the tree, like, don't get it twisted. But I'm like, why am I this tree? You're here to absorb and collect knowledge. And that's why you go to the library all the time in your dreams. I see myself all the time in this big school/library, roaming the hallways with other spiritual beings. And sometimes I see some of my friends up there too. And we go down. We be partying up there, okay? Let's not get it twisted. Just because we're in that 5D does not mean we don't get down like that, okay? Okay? There's a reason to celebrate in any realm, okay? If my elder council can get down like that, so can you, okay? There's no shame in that, okay? All right, why do you think I like twerking so much? We're wacky up there, okay? Like, we don't take nothing seriously. But anyway. Maybe I be seeing some of my poopsies up there too, okay? You know we gonna get down like that in heaven, okay? Let's not pretend. You know we're gonna have a fun time. All right, anyway. So moving on. It's getting hot in here. Whew, I turned the air off because I don't want it to be too loud. You guys, jokes aside, I was this tree of knowledge. But they told me I am that at the same time I'm in this life. And then something about the storm, I'm like, for some reason I'm still a storm on that planet at the same time. Now, like in the same timeline. And that's why I'm so forgetful sometimes, or I'm so confused. Like sometimes I'll just zone out and be like, huh? Or can you say that again? Or like I just forget what you just said. It's cause if you live, I'm like apparently living like 5 lives at the same time. So it's like your mental, spiritual self, like you're like there's the mental in this life, but there's the spiritual mental is elsewhere because something more important is going on there. Or maybe I'm being under attack somewhere, and then I have to focus on that at the same time. I'm here, so here I'm like, duh, or zoned out, while something's going on there at the same time. So it made sense, and I did, as a kid, my imaginary friend, who I believe is just God at this point, because God speaks to all of us. And that's what he had said, so I'll trust him, right? You want to trust the word of God. Was telling me that when I was a kid. And after a while, like, you know, as you get so indoctrinated, you kind of think you're like going crazy, or you're going to be called weird if you believe this. So I kind of just let it go for a while, but I remembered back to being told this as a kid, that you're living multiple lives at the same time. And it never made sense. And I was like, what? Like, why would God say that? And so this is why I'm kind of like weird and quirky and whatever in this life, is because of that. It's because this is not the only life. Like he's trying to remind you that not to get so caught up and absorbed in this life that you forget about the others, that you have a life outside of this life, right? Almost like a second life. And I'm like, whoa, it just like expanded my mind and awareness and way of thinking. I'm like, oh my God, you know, I don't think about it actively. I just kind of like let it go. I'm obviously still focused on this life. I'm not like that carried away where I'm like, oh my God, you know. But a lot of people are going through that. And again, I saw this same thing in other people's regressions. They were saying the same exact thing. They were saying, oh, that's why people call me weird, or like just weird, because I'm actually this like amphibian in this other planet at the same time. And I'm like, what? Like it just like if you think about how many souls are waiting in life to incarnate as a life, and how many life forms there are out there, insects, every star, every tree. Of course you're living at the same time as other life forms. Of course. There's not enough souls to fill all those roles. You know, I'm not saying every blade of grass is life. That's actually not true either. Actually, if you look in, if you tap in, not every blade of grass or tree is actually an incarnate spirit / soul. Okay? No. All right? Most of them probably not. But still, if you think about how much there is out there, every storm, every Fibonacci sequence of life, it's unlimited, almost endless, abundant, but there's only so many souls. And that's why they're so desperate to come here and experience this life. They're waiting in line to this day to get a role to come here. And that's why your life is so important. Your life is so valuable and precious. And you have to be here. You came here. You chose here to, allegedly, for a reason to be here. So you're probably responsible for helping someone out that you don't even know. Okay? So I want you to connect with that inner knowing within you. Hopefully this allows you to tap in and open up to your inner truth and what feels right and connects with you. Again, I know this is out there. I'm a little uncomfortable, to be honest, sharing this, because a lot of people might think this is weird. I'm weird. I'm far-fetched in my imagination. Yeah, so feel free to think that way, because again, I'm not saying I'm right. But we're just here to connect the pieces together. So how is this brain? It's like a big brain in the middle of a tree. It's like this tree is collecting knowledge. So as I'm collecting information about our evolution, our souls here, I'm sending it at the same time to that tree of knowledge. And it's gathering information and it's upgrading us even more. And this is why we're upgrading now. We've always been, is because as the knowledge grows in your mind, it's like a sponge. So do you, because we're all part of this connected creation. So does the tree. And so again, like in the Bible, the early days of Adam and Eve, the tree of knowledge, like they say, don't take from the apple, because sometimes you don't want to know what's out there. You don't want to be too tempted by the knowledge, because you'll never go back. Because once you go, you never go back. Once you know too much, once you expose that matrix, you never go back. So it's kind of like a warning. And that's why I always say, like, it's weird how it all connects. It's really weird. Like, there's no coincidence. I don't believe that one bit. And then I saw myself as a repairman at the same time. And I was responsible for repairing rips in the universe. Like, there's a fabric of the universe, and sometimes there's little rips. Then I just go there and patch it up like it never happened. But once it happens, it happens. You can patch it up all day and night if you want. It will affect other wrinkles. Now this bends, and now I have to go there and just... So it's like a never-ending process, and then something else rips. And I have to go... So I'm like, am I the only repairman out there? No, obviously not. But repair, I do nonetheless. So there you go. And that was also part of the assigned job before doing so much damage as a black hole, apparently. So that was the link I made in that regression session, the third one. I'm like, this is too much. And I'm like, okay, what else am I seeing? And then they take me to the final, like, they take me to the highest possible place I could hit, because I'm not evolved enough to see beyond this veil. So it's like a purpley, misty, dark cloud, and it moves like this. It's like a swirly energy, and I try to go through it, bump, bump, bump. You know, it's like an avatar in a video game that goes through an invisible border. You can't. And I try so hard. I try to mold my energy to go through. It just bounces me right back. And the therapist at the time was trying to get me through. And she connected with me more and thought that there was some darkness within me that I had to heal first to get through that barrier. Because I was not qualified enough to go see what was actually there. Not how I felt. My session, I felt like I had to be that darkness to go through to see. So there's some darkness needing to be exposed to light. So maybe there was some darkness in that therapist that didn't want me to see what was there. Because a lot of times I be connecting with that therapist too at the same time. And I see their light and darkness. And I am battling with them as well. It was really freaky. Yeah. Like one time I actually knew someone that I knew, like in the past. And I'm like, oh, I know you. It was really weird. Really weird. So then I start talking in light codes, light language to try to open the gate. I'm like, I don't even know how to say it. I'm just pretending. Because I'm not in that state of mind, obviously, right now. I'm too hyped up on energy, but I was like, whatever. Okay. You get the point. So there's light language that can actually activate the light codes. And again, then they showed me, oh, you're here responsible for activating the light codes as well as others. I'm like, oh my God, how much does this web go deeper? And then they showed me the web. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is too much. And I'm getting so overwhelmed. I just almost want to get out of this chair because I'm so uncomfortable. And I'm like, there's so much I didn't even know. And then it's like I knew all along, but obviously your life here, you forget. You're not supposed to know until you go. So they show me the advanced web of life, and they show me like a spider web, but there's the tree, and there's me as the repairman, and the storm, and this human life, and my other incarnations, and my life in my sleep when I'm dreaming as like in the astral realm, because I go there when I sleep. Obviously we all go to the astral realm when we sleep, and then obviously I don't remember everything, but sometimes I do. And then it's like, and even as a kid, I always knew in my sleep, God, my imaginary friend, told me that when I go to sleep, I have a second life. I'm like, how could this not be true? So obviously it's like true to me, maybe not true to you, but again, I want you to listen to maybe how this can connect to you, obviously. So sorry to keep saying that, but I don't want to sound like a weirdo freak, like literally. Okay, so maybe this is why I have a hard time making friends. Anyway, so not that I talk to them about this stuff, but yeah, hopefully I can meet someone one day who gets it. So this is why they tell me like I'm drawn to certain beaches and places. I'm there to activate the light codes. Why I walk so much, why I sweat when I'm in public is because I'm sending that light code energy to others, and they're sending it to others as well, and those others send it to others unconsciously. It's all unconscious. You don't actively think about it when you're walking through the mall that you're passing on that energy to someone, and there's multiple beings who do that. And they say like a lot of people who feel anxiety, like social anxiety all the time, they probably doing the same thing. Okay, it's because you're so uncomfortable being around this energies here because you're so new to it. And if someone is like going through a hard time, dense vibration, you're sending that light code to uplift humanity so we can evolve. So it happens slow over time. And sometimes you send it to the earth itself, and that uplifts more. So I've had to like break curses, family genetic spells with light codes, and I saw Archangel Michael, which I definitely connect with more, and he helps me activate and open the portals to send the light code in. And whoa, it's very healing. Go listen on YouTube to someone speaking light language. It's angelic but weird. Yeah, it's like solar energy. It's a freaky deaky language, but it's very cool. And yeah, hearing it back, me saying it, I hope I still have that recording to this day. It's weird. I'm not gonna lie with you. But cool nonetheless. I'm gonna try not to judge that experience, but not something I expected to happen for sure. And yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, there was one more. Hold on, let me change my battery and then I'll get to my point. So the fourth and final past life regression session, I'm clearing out a lot of entities and like old low vibration that have attached to me when I was going through hard times like depression. And then after all that, oh my gosh, it feels like I finally hit it. I finally hit the nail on the head, finally healed most of what I've been going through. And then I'm taken to my past life. And there's some more I'm having to heal. Again, the healing process never really ends because you're peeling back so much that there's always more to explore. So I don't want you to think it's an end goal destination. And that was what I was trying to accomplish the whole time, is perfection. No. And I've made peace with not trying anymore and just letting it happen, as I know it's never going to end in this life. So I sort of saw myself in ancient Egypt, but again, another world, another planet, but it was very similar to ancient Egypt. And I'm like, finally, because I've always connected with ancient Egypt. But this was like a magic world. So not the same things you'd normally expect to see. Okay? And I was a ruler over a small village. Basically, the king over this small part of Egypt. Egypt, whatever. Similar. It's very similar. It's not actually Egypt. They didn't like me. They despised me. I was very corrupt, greedy, and they wanted me dead. So one day, someone just comes up to me while I'm sleeping and puts this like black, smoky, liquidy poison in me and like forces it down. And it was so uncomfortable. It was like it was horrible, like horrible way to go. But it's like obviously it was like magic. So it's like that is not in this reality, right? So I knew it was another world, and we kind of looked like a little different. Even like the outfits didn't look like traditional ancient Egyptian, but it was very similar. So even the atmosphere, it felt otherworldly for sure. And then I left, and I'm like, what was the point of that? Basically not to be greedy, corrupt, and like, not to, live by that principle, because that never lasts. That doesn't survive. It's trying to show me like the light always wins. And even though they were very dark to do that to me, if anything, they were closer to light than me, because they didn't want that around. They didn't want my energy around. So, really weird that I randomly saw that, but lesson learned, don't be greedy and corrupt, that's for sure. And no one could trust me either, so that was that. So again, something with trust, right? Kind of funny. But yeah, and then I connected with, as a kid I always knew I was murdered. That's why. It's because of that life. So it made sense. And actually one time as a kid I did see myself in like 1700s Britain, and I was a soldier and I didn't make it in the war. Maybe. But I think that was just my mind's way of interpreting something else. Because how could I have been here before? Who knows? Maybe. Well, guys, I think that is everything. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this long video explaining my past lives. And you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Again, if you like this video, subscribe, tap that bell, hit all notifications. I have a website, Bomboni.com. If you'd like to book your own sessions with me, can't wait to see you there. And we can tap into all the spiritual knowledge in the world with our tarot readings. How fun is that? All right. Bye, guys.